This is a DrumWise Meets, and today I'm here with drummer and educator Stu Fagan. Hi, Stu.
Hey, how's it going, Tom? Are you okay today?
My first question, what age did you get into drums, and what bands or artists inspired you when you first started playing?
Well, I was quite a late bloomer. I was about 15 when I would say I started properly playing. But I think I got into it. I got into music when I was about 11, but I started to do like you know like when you would have a peripatetic teacher come into your school and they would offer a term's worth of lessons to a few people, and well, I was one of the people that was chosen, and I really took to it. I felt like it was a really natural thing. I had a lot of fun when I was doing it, and one of my friends was doing it, so it was super cool because I had a peer that I could completely, bounce off when we were discussing what we did in our lessons, and it continued for maybe a couple of terms. And I completely stopped. That there must have been 13 or something, 12 or 13. I completely stopped. Don't have a clue why I didn't carry on because I loved it so much. But then when I was about 15, I was really heavily into music by that point, and that was when I just decided that me and this friend who had taken the original lessons, we still wanted to play, and so we started kind of taking it a bit more seriously then, and we joined a band. And in the early days, believe me, it was like no lessons or anything. It was proper DIY punk ethic garage band stuff. We were just like listening to as much music as we could. Copying what we heard. We didn't know what we were playing. I didn't have a clue what triplets were or 16ths or accents, ghost notes, nothing. But I was hearing it on this music and I was copying it. And so I still, developed my skill set throughout that. The bands that we were heavily influenced by when we first got into music was it was a lot of the Bay Area thrash kind of stuff, late 80s metal and thrash, so a bit of Metallica and there was a little bit later on there was Machine Head as well, Slayer, we love Megadeth and whatnot, but Pantera were the ones for me. Pantera. Oh my god, they changed my life. They changed the way I listen to music. Pantera. I've got a Pantera tattoo on my arm here as well. I absolutely loved them that much. So they were the bands that really kind of inspired me to get excited about music. But metal wasn't the only style I listened to. It was all rock orientated. I quite like early grunge, Soundgarden, punk. Soundgarden. I said punk then. Don't know why I said punk. Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and all those kind of Seattle bands, and then Mudhoney, the Melvins, and Nirvana, and everything. Really loved that too. But then when new metal came out, and it was the hip hop infused. There was Rage Against the Machine, and then there was the Korn and the Limp Biscuit and whatnot. That was me. That was when I found my own. Little bit of punk, I was going to say. That's why I said punk. A little bit of the Offspring and Green Day. Bands that were around at the time, in the early 90s, because I'm 36 in March. So it's like, I basically, I'm getting quite old now, so... Yeah.
Well, snap. I mean, I am 36, so there you go.
Oh, you beat me. Or did I beat you? Who knows?
Well, exactly. Yeah. And talking about, when you first started playing, what was your first drum kit?
First drum kit, it was a Mapex Pro kit. It was just like a standard, I think it was just like an entry-level thing at the time. I can't remember the finish. I'm really not like a super gear nerd as well, so I don't tend to know all the ins and outs of the construction. What I mean is, I understand it all, but when I buy a kit, I don't really consider all that kind of stuff. How many plies, I'll think about the type of wood that I want and stuff like that and the sizes, but even less so my first kit. I didn't have a clue what I was buying, but the guys, there's a really cool drum shop near where I live in Manchester, and they're really helpful. They're just like a drum shop, typically run by drummers for drummers, and they really helped me out. It was a gorgeous sounding kit, and I had that for absolutely ages I had that for. I think I've only ever owned about 4 drum kits in my life. I've never been one of those to swap around a kit like people swap the cars around. I'm very much buy something and just like run it to the ground. So yeah, this Pro M, it was only an entry-level kit, but it lasted ages. And at the time, it was a limited edition, so it came with a little 10-inch side snare, and that was mint. Oh, that was beautiful. I love to crank my snares as well, a la, you know, Limp Bizkit, hip hop, wide open. Oh, I love that old piccolo kind of sound. Yeah. So even with a deep snare, I just crank it up to get that high pitch as possible. And that little 10-inch snare, oh, it was a nugget of beauty on the side of that kit. I think that was why I decided. I felt like, ooh, I'm getting an extra drum for the money here. Ooh.
Nice.
It was a nice kit. It was a nice kit, man.
And while we're talking about equipment, I know you just said that you're not a gear nerd or anything, but talk us through your current setup.
Well, I actually use. So I
want to know how many plies. I want to know.
Yeah. I want to the finish. I want to know if it's a Mappa Burl. I hear words I've never even heard before when I research drums these days. Seriously. Right, but very briefly, I use Natal. I use Natal drums, and I have done now for a good couple of years. So the only 2 drum kits that I actually own are both Natal kits now. I find they are absolutely wonderful. I've got a Walnut Originals. And I have this one, which is a Cafe Racer. The Originals, I think, is Walnut, and I can't remember what these are. I don't think it's Acacia and Tulip, maybe Tulip. I'm not too sure. Dave will tell you about that. Dave Major, he's a big Natal guy. I mean, he loves it. So I'm using Natal. My cymbals are a Turkish company called Aegean. They actually only stock in a couple of places in the UK. Drummers only in Glasgow and Leeds stock some of their stuff. And they're a company that I heard of through Instagram. And I started to do a little bit of research, loved the way they sound, and I got talking to them. And it came to a point where they... I was able to try a couple of the cymbals out, liked them, really enjoyed it, and that's developed into a relationship now. So I use their cymbals exclusively. I've used different ones over the years, and most brands for me, like I said, I'm not a gear nut really. I think that they are fantastic cymbals. They have quite a wide variety of ranges as well. But yeah, I think they're quite big in the Middle East. I think they're one of the leading cymbal brands in the Middle East, I think. And they're trying to get a little bit of exposure in the UK, so we're working together to kind of try and achieve that. I use hardware. I've got quite a lot of Yamaha hardware. I've always just liked the way that the Yamaha stands have felt, and I've always felt that they were quite affordable for the durability of them as well. I've never tried any of the Roadster ones, the more recent ones that are super, super, super lightweight though. I've got a friend who swears by those, so I've never tried them yet. The snare drum I use, I get so many comments about this snare drum. It is by, surprisingly, it's by D-Drum. D-Drum, right? And these are guys who apparently, I know that they're big for the triggers. They were like, I think D-Drum triggers were their first big thing. And they released a few kits. And I believe that over time, I remember hearing somewhere that a few people had hardware issues with the kit and inconsistencies with lugs and stuff. I never found that I had that issue, but especially not on this snare. I did have the full D drum kit. It's a Dios Bibinga, the African Bibinga wood. It's mega. But I got rid of the kit when I got the Natals, but I kept that snare. I would never give this snare up. I use it all the time. It's gorgeous. I think you can just about see it now. What about if I move this back a little bit? You can only see it a tiny little bit. It's actually not very good in the light. But yeah, it's a gorgeous kit. Really like it. The drumsticks I use Veta. I use Veta, and the model that I use is Piccolo. I absolutely love them because they're made out of sugar maple, so they're quite light compared to oak and hickory, which allows me to use a stick that's slightly broader, because I like the feeling of quite a chunky stick, but I don't like heavy sticks. And so when I found this model, it changed my playing, and they are quite literally the only sticks I will use now. I absolutely love them. Anything else? No, just little bits and bobs. You know, Audix microphones, Focusrite interface, Roland. You can't see these, but when I'm practicing on my V kits, it's Roland all the way for me. I've used them ever since I started teaching. The music school that I used to work at had 6 V kits in the room that were all used. They were all controlled via a PA at the front of the room. And so I've got in here a Roland TD17, and I've got their newest TD07 as well, which is actually a model down from the TD17, but bridges the gap between their entry-level kit and the TD17. So it has mesh pads, they're slightly smaller, and it has Bluetooth capabilities, which is absolutely amazing. You just don't have to find any wires and that. Connect your phone and you can just crack on. And yeah, editable kit sounds as well. So for the size of it, that's a mega kit. I love my Roland kits. Sometimes I come in here and I just sit and play on the V kits. Of course, yeah. I mean, you know,
as well.
Same here, dude. I mean, I'll quite happily come in here, and even though it's a soundproof room and I've got this bad boy behind me, I'll just sit on the acoustic kit. I think it was because I taught with them for so long. I got used to the feel of them. And they just feel great to play. I just love the way that they feel. Yeah, great, man. I think that's about it really with gear. Cool. Nothing really more exciting than that.
And it's interesting. I've just bought. I'm a Veta guy, and I've just bought the 5A Sugar Maple just to try them. What model are you using?
What model?
Yeah,
they're called Piccolo.
Piccolo, okay.
And I think they are slightly thicker than a 5B. They're slightly thicker, I think. And
okay.
And we have like a nice round wooden tip as well. So I think they're ever so slightly thicker than 5A, but this is what I mean. I just like a nice chunky grip. But I don't know why as well. The ball tip, there's something about the ball tip that I just find a lot more comfortable. I think it might be because I am left-handed, but for the last however many years, I've been slowly conditioning myself to play right-handed. So I've always taught like that because most people are right-handed. So visually, it's easier for someone to see what I'm doing when I'm playing it in their context.
I'm exactly the same. So I'm left-handed on a right-handed kit. And in terms of teaching, I had to, when I first started teaching, I was like this. And people used to say to me, well, why are you telling me to do this when you're doing this? So I was just like, okay, I'll just learn to play like this. And then I don't need to tell them anymore. And now I just find I naturally play like this. But I've been working on my open-handing playing a bit more recently because it's just cool, isn't it? To be able to do
it does,
both.
Certain things I still prefer to do open-handed as well. And I think that's just because over the years I've been conditioning myself to use my right hand, but because of having such a busy, adult lifestyle, I suppose, I've not dedicated as much practice as I would need to develop my right hand to be quite as comfortable as my left yet. So if I'm doing something that's mega consistent for ages, like one-handed 16ths on the hats or something, I feel like I've got a better flow with my left hand, so I'll keep that going. But anything that's intricate with ghost notes, I'll revert to a right-handed sticking. And so I think that the ball tip really helps me to achieve like a consistent sound, because no matter, I'm still developing this change in technique. So sometimes when I'm moving around, my movements aren't as efficient as they will be in a few years. And I think that the round tip ensures that no matter where I hit, if I am hitting a little bit off, the rebound feels consistent and the actual attack feels consistent, because of course it's round, and or at least it creates that feeling in me. Whether it's an illusion or not, I don't know, but I probably think that it is. They're great sticks, these. I've not looked back since I started using these.
Let's try those then. Yeah,
amazing, cool. Really good, man.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love Movators. How interesting that we played the same. Well, I'm exactly the same. If I've got loads of ghost notes, I'll be like, oh, I must be this way because my left hand does all the ghost notes. Yeah. Okay. Now, I think this is, for a lot of people, this has been a hard question, and I would struggle to answer this one myself. But here we go.
Favorite drummer?
If you had to pick just one, who would be your all-time favorite drummer?
Do you know what? I knew that some of these questions were going to be difficult if I didn't plan them out. So I totally thought about it. I've totally thought about all these, and I couldn't come up with one. If I had to give you a name, it would be either Vinnie Paul from Pantera, because I love metal, I love his style, and I was for many, many years in a Pantera tribute band as Skinny Paul, and I felt connected to it because I loved them so much. There's just something about the way that he grooves, which was great, and with it being metal, it meant I could just let loose and hit as hard as I want. And I didn't really have to worry too much about dynamics, which was great because it means I didn't have to concentrate quite as much on that aspect of the delivery. It was more just hitting really hard and getting into it for the passion. So Vinnie Paul, 100%. But a drummer who is very, very, very underrated until, like, in the mainstream, until you talk to a drummer who knows who he is, and then they're like, oh yes, I completely get this. So maybe to a few of your viewers, this will be someone they've never really heard before. I don't know. It's a drummer who's in a band. He's called Abe Cunningham from Deftones. Yeah. Yep. Deftones are my all-time favourite band, and they have been since I was 11 years old. I am influenced and inspired by them in every single aspect of my life. They are, if music could be family, Deftones would be my family. I have my whole left arm's tattoo sleeve is all related to Deftones artwork and stuff like that, lyrics. And there's something about his hip-hop infused offbeat applications. He just makes stuff sound so cool. He's not the like the most technical drummer. The stuff he plays isn't difficult at all. But his note choices, the placement of certain snares. So he'll just be keeping then one snare, and it's just that one snare in a little 4-bar loop that's on a 16th or something, and it just punches me right in the feels, I suppose you could say. So yeah, I think I owe a lot to my style from him, although you wouldn't realising it when you watch my Instagram stuff, because this is very much focused around like tuition and the little building blocks that I put forward. But my preferred style of playing is like massively improvised. I don't really like learning songs. I don't really like that. So I just try to improvise. Like, obviously I still try and play musically and whatnot, but I like to just go with the flow, and I feel that's a style that I can resonate with, and I apply myself in that way a little bit more comfortably and confidently when I can just, when I'm playing when I'm playing something where there aren't quite as many rules, let's say, Definitely Abe Cunningham. If there was a couple more, I'd say Neil Peart from Rush. Absolutely amazing. Love his linear style. Absolutely rock solid rock drummer. And Marco Miniman. He's probably my biggest jazzy fusion kind of guy. And he is part of an amazing instrumental trio called the Aristocrats, with a dude called Guthrie Govan on guitar and a guy called Brian Bella on bass. And if your viewers haven't listened to those, then oh my days, that is the band that they should go and listen to. The Aristocrats, and Marco Miniman's drumming. Oh, he's the one.
Awesome. Great answer. And yeah, it's kind of one of those questions where I realised that, most people would find it really hard to just give one answer.
That's it.
So, Another one that some people have found difficult. What's been the highlight of your career so far?
Yeah, this is actually a really, really big one, this, for me. There's two. Once again, there's two. I'm very, very indecisive today, Tom. So I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you, very briefly, I'm going to give you this room that I'm sat in right now. This is my garage. This is my route. This is, I can't quite describe to you the sense of contentment and achievement that I feel through the process of creating this room that I'm sat in right now. It is literally just a garage, and we had a little chat before the interview began, and I think I mentioned that in that me and my girlfriend bought this house just over a year ago now, and we moved from a slightly smaller house that didn't have a garage and a garden. And one of the conditions of the house move was that I could have a garage that I could convert with my dad. We had no clue what we were doing, and we just did a lot of research. He's better at DIY than me, but I knew what I wanted out of the room. So I did all the research. I was his labourer. He made the construction decisions, and we did it ourselves. And it was the transition from me moving from the music school that I worked for the last 12 years at to working at home on my own. I cannot tell you how much stress that reduced in my life. It was unbelievable. So that is the bit that's like, that was a big one. But there's one point in my career so far as a teacher, because that is like, make no mistake about it, that is my career. Like, I'm a drummer. I will play in bands. I'll play weddings. I'll do functions. I might record a few songs for people here and there, but I am a teacher. That is my main thing. And I have a student called Lucy. She's my biggest achievement, and it's not because she's an amazing drummer, by the way. She's really, really good. I think she's 20 now, and I think I started teaching her when she was 7. So I literally started teaching her from her very first drum lesson, okay? And she's an amazing drummer now, and she's gone on to further studies in music as well. I still teach her, and I'm still in touch with her now. But when Lucy was very young, I've already spoken to her about this, so I've actually got Lucy's permission to discuss this today in the interview with you. Lucy used to suffer from a condition called selective mutism, and for some reason she wouldn't speak to certain people for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And this was something that was out in the open. So I have a really good relationship with a mum as well. And so I'd speak to a mum and I'd say, Deb, like, come on. And Lucy would be there. I'd say, come on, when are we going to get you talking then, chicken? And all the rest of it. Tried to make it light-hearted, and we used to have a laugh about it. But I devised a way of teaching her whereby I'd ask her closed-ended questions so that she could either give me a nod, shake, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, point to things on the paper. It didn't hold up her learning in any way, but it got to a point where I was like, come on, Lucy, you can do this now. So supportive, so encouraging. And I still remember the moment in my head right now when she looked terrified, but I said, we're doing it today, Lucy. You're going to say a word to me today. And we were in the class, and I asked her a question. I said, look, all it has to be is yes or no. Just give me an answer to this question, yes or no. And you could see she was trying so hard. I could cry thinking about it, seriously. And she actually spoke. And oh my God, that feeling, it was like, yes, I'm teaching you how to play drums, but like, I've helped you to do that. Like, you've grown as a person, and I've literally seen a moment in your life where you've grown. And that for me was like that's the biggest aspect to teaching. It's the incredible positive influence you can have on someone's life, aside from the actual tuition, which is the main thing that you're delivering. It was a great moment, and I always tell her how proud I am of her because of it. And now she's fine. Never shuts up now. Coming to lesson, never shuts up. Brilliant, Tom. It was a great moment. That really good. It made me realise that I actually was helping people. It gave me confidence.
Yeah, that's such a nice story, and yeah, you're like what you say is so true, isn't it? You know, we're teaching drums, but there are so many other things that people can learn and take on from having, well, an instrumental lesson. You know, being taught something. Yeah, and I've had some of those similar sort of moments as well. So I'm totally with you, and I know what you mean. Like, yeah, it gets you, doesn't it?
Really gets you, yeah, it really gets you. It's great. I think all these little things, they all add up to what will hopefully be a what I'm trying to say. Everyone suffers with like imposter syndrome, don't we? We all worry about like, are we doing a good job? Am I a good teacher? Am I a good person? Did I hold that door open for someone? Did I say thank you when I was in the shop? All these things, they make us feel like we could be better, we want to be better. And all these little things, like they add up to us feeling good about ourselves, that we've done the right thing, and, you know, keeping your moral compass in check and whatnot. And I love those. I love those. I suppose in a weird way, it's kind of selfish as well, because, you know, we do what we do for other people, but we can't deny how good it makes us feel when those things happen to us as well.
Yeah, awesome. Now, going on to a bit of a sort of education question here. When you first get a gig with a new artist, or, you know, if you're just learning new songs or whatever it is, basically, you know, there is learning involved, or you're learning a song to give to a student.
Yeah.
How do you learn that material? So, you know, just a few examples. Do you just listen to it and then, you know, you've got it immediately? Or do you listen to it and transcribe it? Or, you know, has it ever happened where someone's gone, here you go, Stu, here's the entire show that you've got to play, written out in drum music in this folder. Go away and learn it.
Exactly. First of all, no, that has never happened to me, because I don't really like reading music. I can very well, but I don't like it. It's an element of my CPU that I don't want to be taking up energy when I'm playing. I don't want to have to think about what's on that page. So I've never saw theatre gigs or any kind of theatrical context where, like, there's, you know, we've got musicians in the pit down below and anything like that. I've never ever really liked. I've never been interested in that. Now, if I was going to learn something for another band, learning it by ear is always what I would do first, because more than anything, if I don't know the song, obviously you have to listen to it, because it's not just the structure and the material that you're listening to, it's the feel of the song as well. And so I think that you know, music is about listening, isn't there? So I don't think there's any substitute for listening to music. Listening to music existed before the recording of music by writing it down, so we don't forget our ideas and all the rest of it. So it's like, what I like to do is I like to start with big chunks and work my way backwards. So I'll listen to the song, and if it's a dead straightforward structure, I'll know straight away that it's like A, B, C, long chorus, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm listening to it, I just make little notes, really. I try to remember sections in as big a section I can, so that there's less to remember in the song. So if I know that I'm playing a chorus that's 16 bars and all it is a 4 to the floor, you don't need to think about the 16 bars, of course. You just kind of listen to it and crack on, don't you? But then obviously, where there are standout bits, if there's a standout bit that contributes to the musicality of the overall piece, then I'll make sure that they're absolutely bob on. And sometimes I would make a tiny little cheat sheet, a little note for when I'm practicing. I can get those things in my head until I know that I don't need them anymore. Sometimes it's not even writing the notation down. Sometimes I know what I've got to play, and it's just a case of remembering to put the standout fills or the stops in at certain parts, or the extra bar or the odd bar, a 2/4 at the end of the second verse or whatever it is. And I sometimes I just like scribble shapes and stuff down. I work with a guitarist, one of my best mates, and when we used to turn up to covers gigs, we'd have our set list, and next to certain songs, he'd have little diagrams of like a bottle of beer or a boot or a dog or something like that, and he'd use pictures to remind him of what he had to do. So for me, it's definitely learn by ear all the way and make little notes. If someone gave me a chart, then that indicates I should be learning this chart, so I'd learn it because they've given it to me, right? But then I like to be kept on my feet as well. I like to be kept on my toes, rather. But obviously, all this is contextual as well, isn't it? Like, so if we was doing a theatre gig, for example, then I would need to, you know, absolutely put that effort into to read the chart, or I'd have to be good at sight reading. I just don't really like it. But I like to be kept on my toes. So one of the things that I do quite often at gigs is play songs that I've never even heard before. It's great, actually. It's so cool, and it helps me get over nerves when you're performing something new. If I've taken the time to prepare something, then it's probably going to be all right. But it can be scary at first when the guitarist turns around, starts playing a few chords and looks at you and gives you a wink because he knows you've never heard this song before, but I'm going to play it anyway. And he'll just play. And in this particular band, it's actually with the guy that does all the diagrams as well. We have a band that we play in together. It's like it's his baby kind of thing, and he sings and plays guitar, and we do weddings. We do weddings quite a lot, but when we do weddings, there's a 3 or a 4 piece, like depending on what the client wants. But when there's just me and him and we're filling up our other weekends, we just do dead chilled out local pub gigs and stuff like that, just as a duo. Acoustic guitar, little mini setup, kick, snare, hats, floor tom. And those are the best gigs for me because they're all about improvising. We don't plan what we do. We never compose a set list. We never rehearse. We turn up to the gig and we try to just play from requests from the audience for the entire night, 3 sets. And that's why I end up playing songs I've never heard, because he'll be on his iPad looking up a song and he'll be like, sing the word. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do that one. And it's great as well because it's good for us as musicians because we really have to listen to each other. But it's also good to let loose a little bit because there's only a duo. So we've got a lot of space that we can each play around in. And so it's a little bit more relaxed and we don't have to kind of serve the song quite as much as we would if we were playing in a wedding. And I love that style of playing. And for that, you can't really do any preparation. But having the experience of played so many gigs whereby you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation is probably more valuable, I think, because you get that confidence to just kind of jump in and not have to worry about it. Those gigs are so much fun. I'm so gutted that we've not been able to do any this year. Well, last year now, you know.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. When will they come back?
I know. Soon. Fingers crossed. Soon.
Yes, fingers crossed. And talking about putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, my next question is all about uncomfortable situations. Have you ever had anything go wrong on stage that you've had to recover from?
Only that I was trying really, really hard to think about something. It's just come to me. It's come to me. I was just literally going to say, I've been sat down for ages before trying to think of a really good answer to this. And I'm thinking, do you know what? No, it's dead boring. Just the typical things like I've dropped my sticks here and there, or, one of my monitors stops working and I can't hear and I'm a little bit out or something. Nothing really fun or cool. And then this came back to me. One of the first bands I was playing in, metal band, right? I played in, there was a venue, I think it's unfortunately closed down now, but it was a really cool venue on the underground music scene in Manchester. It was called the Night and Day Cafe. Absolutely awesome venue, really cool. So hot. On that stage, it is as hot as the surface of the sun, I swear to you. And the venue is really long as well. Really long. To indicate how hot it was, they had a 4-foot wide fan on the wall at the back of the stage, right? It was such a long, narrow venue, and the door was on the other side to the stage, so all the heat was on the side of the room where we were, and I was playing lots of double bass. And original band, it was metal, and there was a part that came up to the song, and it was like a blast beat kind of thing, and I felt really hot. I didn't feel good, Tom. I took a swig of this water that was next to me. I thought it was water. It was an amalgamation of water and the little dregs of lemonade that I had failed to previously tip out of the bottle in favour of the water. And so there was still a little bit of fizz at the bottom. In this tiny little break in the song, I gulped a load of this water down. Fizz. Straight away, I felt this gurgling. I played the blast beats. I'm gonna hurl. I'm gonna throw. So in the middle of this song, I'm like this. And I'm playing, and I puked up all over the floor mid-song, and my whole body contracted, so the blast beat was like... And they had it on video at time, and I'm like this above, you can see me above the cymbals, and then all of a sudden my head disappears, and then the next time my head appears, I've got these big bags around my eyes, and I've got like spit dribbling down the side of my mouth. It looked like I'd just been infected, and there was part like an extra from The Walking Dead or something. It was horrible at the time, but it was really, really funny as well. It was really funny. If you can dig
up the video footage, we'll insert it here.
Mate, I know, I would absolutely love that. I think it was a case of, God, it must have been 10 years ago now. I think it was, old school VCR camera,
Wow.
It was fun, man. It was fun.
That's a good one.
I'm glad I remembered. Normally, I'd be in bed at like 2 a.m. and I'd wake up and that'd pop into my head thinking, why didn't I tell Tom that earlier?
Good stuff. And a couple of curveball questions now, just to move away from drums slightly.
Cool.
So, apart from the obvious, drinking lemonade really quickly and vomiting it back up, what are your hobbies away from drums?
Oh, pizza. Not just eating pizza though. Like I've started, like, recently, food has always been a huge hobby for me. So I go through phases of making certain things an awful lot. And I fancy myself as a little bit of an amateur chef. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really do take a lot of care in what I do when I dedicate myself to cooking. And I do a lot of research and whatnot. Just like anything, I'm quite meticulous with my planning with a lot of with everything, and even with my hobbies, because I want to get the best result out of something. If I'm undertaking it as a task, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting time. So quite often I would go through a phase of making certain foods, and at the moment pizza's my big phase. And so I've started to learn how to. I've started really delve into the science behind dough making. And water temperature, dough temperature, the type of yeast, different proving times. And it's like, I bought this little pizza oven, couple of £100, like a little gas-powered one that you can just use in your back garden. And I've got a pub shed. So like me and Mrs, we built a shed, and it's fully decked out as a bar, like a full-blown bar right next to the studio. Absolutely perfect after a night of teaching. Walk out of this door. 5 seconds, you're in the pub, lad. So, like, basically, we have this little pizza oven there, and it's just become this, like, weekly obsession now that at the weekend I make loads of pizzas, and I've been, like, buying ingredients from this Italian website to get the right kind of cheese and tomatoes and things like that. And oh my God, I'm making restaurant quality pizzas in my back garden. It's really quite incredible. So pizza at the moment, like, if you ask anyone that knows me, like, my Christmas list this year, it was like, oh, I want this from a pizza oven. Oh, I need this thermometer. Oh, it's one of those, Other than that, Tom, it's just like really boring, typical stuff. I like to watch films. I like to keep healthy. I like to go and see my friends at the weekend. I've not been able to for the last year, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like the same typical stuff everyone says. I keep healthy and I go to the gym. And I really like watching films and listening to music. That kind of thing. But food's the big one, Tom. Yeah. Music and food. Give it to me. Give it to me.
I've got a really good friend who is Italian, and he's really into making pizza at the moment.
Oh, cool.
And I always wind him up about, because he told me a while ago, so it's in Italy, it's like a massive sin. It's like you do not put chicken on a pizza. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Well, I mean, I do. Depending on the pizza, absolutely. I think Italian, they created pizza, so really they've got the say. Do you know what I mean? They've got the say. And I don't eat chicken anyway, me. I don't eat chicken anyway, so I wouldn't put it on a pizza. But I don't really see that I don't see that there's as much a problem as putting chicken on a pizza as pineapple. Now, if we're talking about pineapple,
That's
I'm like,
the other one.
yeah, I'm like, that does not compute. But if we're talking about a context, and I think we're trying to make, if we're trying to make an original Italian, like a Roman style or a Neapolitan style, then it's all about just like very, very few base ingredients and slight differences in the method to create the crusts and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, just like everything evolves, doesn't it? Everything evolves. Mm-hmm. So you're talking like hundreds of years ago when like the margarita pizza was created in honor of Queen Margaret at the time. And obviously the basil, the cheese and the tomato is indicative of the colours of the flag. You can't deny that that's the original pizza. So they have a right to say that, but you can't stop progress and you can't stop offshoots. And, you know, if someone gave me like a big New York style pizza with a massive slice and cheese stuck to it, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no, like, but I prefer Neapolitan Italian ones, yeah.
Awesome. I thought I'd just get that one in there. There you go.
Oh, yeah, too right. Mate, I love it. I could talk about food much more enthusiastically than drums, you know.
Well, this next question is also food-based, and this is my surprise question. So
yeah.
Here we go. The most important question of the entire interview, I think, Stu. So, what's your favourite biscuit?
Oh, right. It is going to... Oh, my God. That's the hardest question that you've asked this entire interview. Oh, my God. I mean, man, I wish I would have had time to prepare for this. You know, I'm not a hobnob kind of guy. I'm not a hobnob kind of guy. Custard cream's a bit too... Like, it's a bit too boring for me. But saying that, a bourbon cream, whatever you call it, bourbon, that is very close. And I know that could be construed as a boring choice as well, because it's very similar to a custard cream, just chocolatey. Good old straight up chocolate chip cookies. But I'd probably say bourbon. Am I saying it right? Bourbon?
Yeah,
I never know how to say it.
I'd say bourbon, yeah.
I'd say bourbon. I'd probably say a bourbon biscuit then. What about yours? What's yours?
Oh, no, don't ask me that.
You'll have to edit this bit out just before I asked you the question.
Funny, the other day on our shop, they do like a multi-pack of biscuits at Tesco, and it's got bourbons, custard creams, Nice, is it Nice? Nice? I don't know.
Yes, I know what you mean,
malted milk all in one. Because I've been doing these interviews for a while, and there's been so many biscuit-related things, and I've just been buying like a ton of biscuits, and I've got so many, and I never know which one to eat. And our house is just, we've got no actual food, but we've got biscuits to pour. And this is the next part of the question. Would you dunk the bourbon? Because I certainly would dunk those.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, too right. Absolutely. I'm a bit more of a coffee drinker, but you know what? I'd dunk it in coffee. It'd probably be better in coffee, actually. I'm not a dunker. By nature, I'm not a dunker. But if you were sat in front of me now with a biscuit and a brew, and you went, put that biscuit in your cup of tea and then eat it, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I don't do, like, if I had a brew and a biscuit, I wouldn't dunk them. It's weird, that, isn't it? I just wouldn't dunk them. Such a British thing, and I just wouldn't do it. But if I had to, I would. But yeah, I don't really dunk my biscuits. Normally, I just drink espresso, so I don't have a drink for long. I don't have a drink for long enough to dunk, because it comes out and I just go whoop and crack on.
Nice. Good stuff. Now, on to my last question of the interview.
Yeah.
Back to being serious again. Although, biscuit questions are very serious. So, if you could just give one bit of advice to someone that's starting out learning the drums, what would that advice be?
Ask yourself the question, why do I want to play the drums? Because people start things without thinking about what they want out of it. And they see some video they think is cool. the friend learns guitar and they think, oh great, I want to be in a band. Oh boom, there's that person's incentive. They want to play the drums because they want to be in a band with their mate. People don't often ask themselves the question, why am I actually doing what I am doing? Like, and especially because you might make a decision to do something. You might make a decision to take up an instrument or whatever it is, and then you might 6 months down the line, like kind of forget what your original impetus was behind that decision, end up getting a little bit kind of bored and stale with what you're doing because you simply lose track of your direction, not because you're too lazy to practice and all the other things that we say to ourselves that make us feel bad. You need to remind yourself what you're doing something for. And I think when you do that, I think I heard Benny Greb in an interview use this incredible analogy, and I use it with my students all the time now, which is on a map, a road map, you have to know both where you're stood and what your destination is to make the most efficient route there. You could quite easily know where you are and where, if you know where you want to be, but you don't know where you are, then it's going to become difficult for you to start the process. But if you know where you are and not where you want to be, then you'll just end up wandering the streets, so to speak. And I think that you don't have to make a decision that is the end game. This could be based on a short-term goal. It could be based on, for the first year of my drumming, I want to be able to get myself up to a standard where I can sit in my bedroom and play 14 songs back to back, play along with all of Nirvana's Nevermind or whatever it is. And then at that point, you will have evolved. So then maybe you'll ask yourself the same question regularly. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Well, first I wanted to play Nirvana, but through that process, I've actually established that I want to be in a band. So why am I doing what am I doing? Now it's because I want to be in a band. I think you need to communicate with yourself quite often, and people don't. And I think it provides clarity when you just set yourself short-term goals that are just going to help you to continue to have fun while you do something. For me, it's all about fun. There's no point doing something if you're not having fun. And people want to learn different things for different reasons, and they have different circumstances, and we want to practice in different ways. So not all people want the big pop gig. Some people want to play in the bedroom and they never want to show any other person on the planet that they can play this instrument. Some people want to make videos for social media. Some people want to be teachers. There's so many different avenues and so much information out there as well that you've got to know what you want to do so that you can make a route to achieve it. Otherwise, you just end up getting lost and you end up comparing yourself to other people and thinking that you should learn this. I probably should learn this. But I think quite a lot also, people tend to... they don't tend to think about why they're practicing what they're practicing. So I find that a lot of people waste so much time and energy practicing something that's not even relevant or congruous to their path and their decision. And so it can help you progress a lot quicker if you know what you're trying to achieve. It's as simple as that. If you fail to prepare to fail. It's as simple as that. So get a plan together and have fun and keep smiling. Pull silly faces like I do. It makes you 100% a better drummer. 100% a better drummer. Definitely.